The sound samples you have just heard were recorded using the brand new 800TS onboard bass preamp by Lusithand Devices. Let's find out more about it. Welcome back to The Word of Bass. This video is all about the 800TS. The next one will be about the NFP filter preamp, also by Lusithand Devices. And in the third, we'll find out how I modified my jazz bass to fit in these top-notch preamps. We'll also take the opportunity to compare them to the original passive electronics. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when these videos come out. Okay, so all the sound samples at the beginning of this video were reamped through my Stopco amp. However, the following sound samples are recorded through the Peterson Tuner and the Lusithand Devices Alma Comp. So what is the 800TS? Well, it's a 4-band preamp for jazz bass based on the famous Gallien Krueger 800RB head. So this preamp allows you to switch from passive to active, and when switching to active, there's an immediate increase in clarity and dynamics, as if the sound blossoms, even with the 4-band EQ set to noon. It makes my bass easier to play in a way as its character is amplified, and I don't have to dig that deep into the strings to get this character out, but I can still do it simply by switching to passive. So best of both worlds. Volume, balance, and tone switch are passive and come before the active 4-band EQ. Bass is set at around 60 Hz, perfect for adding low-end punch. Low mids are at around 250 Hz for either adding vintage warmth or scooping out a more modern tone. High mids at 1K are great for articulation and mid presence in the mix, or dialing in a more discreet and warmer tone simply by reducing this frequency. And treble at 4K is spot on to add snap and attack when using a pick or slapping, or even adding a touch of treble presence when playing softer stuff like chords, for example. Able to switch from active to passive is great for many reasons. One of them, and perhaps the most obvious reason, is that if the battery dies out, you can still use your bass. You also get to preserve the passive essence of a jazz bass, and some saturation pedals work better with a passive signal, while others sound awesome with a small boost of certain frequencies in front of them. So here again, you get the best of both worlds. By the way, let me know if you want me to do a short using the 800TS with a fuzz or a drive pedal. other mini switch is a 3-way tone selector. It works even when the preamp is set to active. When off, the sound is unfiltered and obviously the clearest. In the mid position, the treble is reduced, and I would describe the sound as nasal and punchy. More of a rock tone if you prefer, and it works really nice with the bridge pickup. When set to off, it reduces the treble and some of the high mids for a darker, more vintage tone. So the beauty of this passive filter is when you combine it with the active electronics. Switching to max, the darkest passive tone, and adding some treble from the active EQ is like playing on an old tube amp with new strings. And the crazy thing is that it almost sounds like a cab sim. Adding high mids and bass with the tone set to mid is awesome to give a transparent growl to your sound for a classic rock tone. Some preamps boost frequencies way too much, making them unusable at high settings because the volume is way too loud. This is not the case with the 800TS. Obviously, by turning the knobs all the way up, you do get exaggerated results. But below that, the sweep is precise and constant, under control if you prefer, making it super easy and agreeable to add the right amount of frequencies you want to add. Most 3 or 4 band preamps boost bass at around 40 Hz, which I personally think is way too low. Sound engineers today will tell you that in many cases they use a high pass filter at around 50 to 70 Hz to free that space in the subs area for the bass drums or synth. So the choice of 60 Hz, 250 Hz, 1 kHz and 4 kHz based on the Gallien Krueger 800RB head is a guarantee that they will work for you, because Gallien Krueger has been around for quite some time and knows a thing or two about what bass players need and how to make our sound better. Keep in mind that Lusithand Devices is a one-man company, yet the quality of this preamp is excellent. You see this in the attention to details and the choice of components, and also along with how easy it is to connect this preamp to the pickups, the output jack and the battery, provided you do have an independent output jack on your bass and a big enough cavity for the 800TS and the battery to fit in, because this wasn't the case with my Fender Jazz bass 22 frets made in USA. So make sure you watch the next video to see how I managed to install the preamp and the battery inside my bass. A special mention to the Alma Comp, also by Lusithand Devices. I set the EQ knob to noon, but just imagine how this function would broaden up the sonic possibilities when combining it with the 800TS. This is by far one of my favorite compressors, and I've tested and own quite a few. Oh, and by the way, do check out the review of the Alma Comp on my channel. I cannot wait what Lusithand Devices has in store for us, but one thing I'm sure of, if it's as good as what I tested so far, Lusithand Devices' new creations are bound to be Awesome. Not putting too much pressure on you, am I, Nuno? This is it for my review. Next week we'll have a look at the NFP filter preamp that I currently have installed in my bass. Not that I prefer it, but it's just that I find it fascinating as it's something completely new to me and I do want to spend more time experimenting with it. But it's so easy to switch from one to the other that you might see either whenever I feel like it, until I build myself a new jazz bass. Perhaps, who knows? What I do know, however, is that if I do build myself a new jazz bass, there's no doubt about it that I will install the 800TS in it. I think it's up to par and even better than some other preamps I have tested and installed for clients. Remember that I am a luthier. Brands like Aguilar, Glockenklang, Bartolini, EMG, Delano, Darkglass, to name just these few. So why? Why do I think that it's up to par and even better than some of these preamps? Well, I just like how well built, practical and versatile this preamp is, and particularly how well the passive tone combines with the active electronics. And finally also how good it instantly sounds when activated, even with all EQ set to noon. If you want to know more about the 800TS, feel free to contact Lusithand Devices. Who better than Nuno to answer the questions you might have about it? Check out the description box for links. Right, hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.